We'll start. We're going to turn the attention over to Hannah. I'll give her a moment to speak.
Thank you, Chair Delwich. For the record, Hannah Van Den Wegen with the City Planning Department. I just wanted to quickly introduce myself as your new City Planning Director. So this is the very first City Planning Commission meeting that I've obviously been with you guys. So I'm here to be a resource, so if you need anything during the meeting, please let me know. And that includes any printouts from the packets or anything of that nature. So I'm here to be a resource. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start. Seems like there's an echo. Is that just? This is computers. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'll start by calling the roll. Commissioner Latimer?
Present.
Commissioner Armstrong?
Present.
Commissioner Storm?
Present.
Commissioner Casey?
Present.
Commissioner Graybill? Okay. So first order of business is to approve the minutes of the April 13th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the April meeting.
I can second that.
Okay.
Alan, I have one little typo
Okay.
that may or may not be significant. I think page 4, 10th paragraph, last sentence about the packet structure. I think that should be pocket because it was in regards to the pocket park. Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay, so any other corrections? And we had a motion and a second. So with that correction, all those in favor?
I'm abstaining. I was absent.
Okay, and Commissioner Graybill abstained as well. So that's 4-0 with 2 abstentions. So before we start, I'll just the business part of the meeting, I'll just describe the process we follow. The chair will call an item for consideration. Planning staff will describe what the applicant's request is and what their analysis and findings are. And following that, we'll allow the applicant to speak, and they'll state their case and answer any questions we may have and present what they wish to further their case. And following that, we'll open the public hearing to public. If anybody wants to comment on the item, that will be their opportunity to state their opinion regarding the item under consideration. And following that, we'll close the public comment portion of the hearing, and we will deliberate and vote either to approve, deny, possibly table an item. And if we find reason, we may slightly modify the request for what we can approve. And as we go through the process, we're not legislating. We're just interpreting what's in the zoning and subdivision codes, because that's what we look at. And we're not legislators. We're just basing our decisions on what our interpretation is of the code. So with that, are there any conflicts or ex parte contacts to disclose? Okay, then with that, I'll call up the first 2 items. Minor subdivision 2201, create 2 lots at 121 Lovers Lane, Jeffrey Myers applicant, and subdivision waiver 2201, encroachment into the no-build area, same address and same applicant.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tonight's hearing is related to a proposed minor subdivision to create 2 lots and a related subdivision waiver request to allow encroachment into slopes of 30% or greater for retaining walls to achieve global stability on the site at 121 Lovers Lane, which was formerly known as 122 Washington Avenue. All right. So under the current plat, the Mansions Park Place subdivision, the property consists of 17 lots, and the proposed minor subdivision is to create 2 lots on the site. Proposed Lot 1 measures 27,939 square feet in area, and proposed Lot 2 measures 24,503 square feet in area, which is compliant with the minimum lot size requirement of 4,400 square feet in the general residential zone. There is a vacated right-of-way that stretches across both lots, which was the former Wichita Way right-of-way, and was vacated under City Ordinance 1001. Currently, there is a 20-foot drainage and utility easement held by the city located in this former right-of-way, and as mentioned in easement note 1 on the cover sheet of the proposed plat. The proposed plat also depicts a 20-foot wide access easement coming off of Lovers Lane on proposed Lot 1 that connects with the existing drainage and utility easement that would serve to provide access to Lot 2. The easement is mentioned in easement note number 2 on the cover sheet of the proposed plat. Both easement notes provided mention maintenance responsibilities for those easements. However, a formal easement document will be needed for the access easement proposed and to be filed concurrently with the plat if approved. This requirement has been noted in the recommendations made by staff. There are also no-build areas, which are areas of 30% or greater slope identified on the proposed plat, and areas of 17 to 29% slope, which have also been identified on the plat. This image is depicting the subdivision site plan. The applicant proposes development of a single-family residence on Lot 1, which is located outside of the no-build areas. Excuse me for a moment. Sorry about that, just wanted to eliminate the echo there. And the retaining walls, which have been engineered by Intech Engineering, who wrote the Geologic Hazards report, which do encroach into the areas of 30% or greater slope. The driveway accessing Lot 1 has been graded under the approval of grading permit 2103 and is required to be paved under that approval. Due to the grading of the driveway, which has already occurred, the driveway is located outside of the 30% or greater slopes, which is indicated on the subdivision site plan. Lot 2 is intended to be sold as a vacant lot, and there are no proposed encroachments into the no-build areas under this application. So the no-build areas are better depicted in the image shown there. The no-build areas are shown between the blue areas. Also depicted are the building envelope and driveway parking area that are outside of the 30% or greater slopes, and the proposed retaining wall, which does encroach into the no-build areas and is the reason for the necessity of the proposed subdivision waiver. So this image just sort of highlights that encroachment into the no-build area, which is approximately 2,000 square feet. The next image depicts the stamped retaining wall plans that encroach into the no-build area. The plans are dated December 8th, 2021, and have been stamped by Intech Engineering. Per the approval of the grading permit 2103, the retaining wall and proposed residence are required to be approved under separate plan reviews and permitting, and are required to be approved by Intech Engineering to ensure compliance with their recommendations that they made in the Geologic Hazards Report, which was also reviewed and approved by the Colorado Geologic Survey. The purpose of the retaining wall is to achieve acceptable safety standards and global site stability to allow construction of the proposed residence on Lot 1. The Geohazards report, the applicant provided a Tier 3 Geohazards report for the proposed development, which was reviewed by the Colorado Geologic Survey and has been updated based on their comments. Per the comments made by CGS in the letter dated January 5th and the email dated April 6th of 2022, which were received as part of the request for comments, they have stated they have no further objections or further updates required to the revised study or the proposed development. The updated report indicates potential issues and recommend mitigation requirements related to groundwater and drainage, slope stability, and the retaining wall design. Regarding the slope stability, the updated report indicates expansive soils, steep slopes, and potential instability in terms of the soils and the fill slope along the northern side of the proposed lots. It is anticipated these instabilities may result in lateral and vertical movement of the near surface soils in a downslope direction in those areas. No signs of slope failure were observed on the fill slope, which is the north part of the lot closest to Washington Avenue. However, cracking of the pavement on Washington Avenue was observed. In terms of mitigation, and due to the location of the proposed structures with respect to the steeper slopes, the engineer and the Colorado Geologic Survey recommend shallow drilled piers bearing the weight on the underlying bedrock for the foundation of the proposed residence. Additional reinforcement, such as tie beams or buttresses, is also recommended. Specific recommendations are made in Reference 1, Appendix B of the Geologic Hazards Report. The tiered engineered retaining walls are planned along the northern side of the proposed residence and have been designed for global stability. Regarding drainage and groundwater, the Colorado Geologic Survey and the engineer, Intech, notes that both surface and subsurface drainage control is extremely important for this site. The report states that all drainage must be captured and diverted and recommends permanent slope channel reinforcement to consist of riprap or other suitable slope channel armoring materials to protect the slopes from future undercutting and further instability. Surface waters flowing from the north should be intercepted to prevent saturation of slope materials. Curb and gutters or other drainage swales should be considered along Washington Avenue by the city. A crest drain is also recommended above the proposed retaining walls. Runoff from the roof downspouts should be collected and carried off-site in a non-erosive manner. A detailed drainage report approved by Intech Engineering incorporating these recommendations will need to be provided by the applicant for city review and approval prior to the issuance of a building permit. And regarding the proposed retaining walls, the engineers confirmed that the proposed retaining walls have been designed to achieve the adequate factors of safety for global stability when water sensitivity and fill sensitivity are accounted for. The retaining walls have been engineered by Intech to provide for those adequate factors of safety for the building pad on this site, which includes subsurface drains at the heel and toe of each tier of the walls. The Geohazards report from Intech recommends the addition of a crest drain at the top of the retaining walls to help mitigate surface drainage on site. This requirement has been noted in the recommendations made by staff. So regarding the Colorado Geologic Survey and their comments, they did note potential impacts to Washington Avenue and have recommended that the City of Manitou verify during construction of the retaining wall and residence and basically monitor that to ensure that they're being constructed according to the approved plans. The engineer has stated that development of the site can be achieved if site conditions are properly mitigated through the proper design of the retaining walls and construction or avoidance. Colorado Geologic Survey has stated that all of their comments have been addressed by the engineer. They have no further objection to the planned construction. However, CGS does offer caution regarding the retaining walls proposed, and that's where they made the recommendation that the city monitor the construction for compliance with the approved plans. Let's see. And the Colorado Geologic Survey has stated that it's essential for the long-term performance of the retaining walls and the slope stability that all of Intech's recommendations be strictly adhered to during construction, especially regarding their recommendations concerning surface drainage capture and diversion. Per the conditions of approval of the grading permit, the applicant is required to contract with Intech Engineering regarding engineering, construction, and observation of all retaining walls and building improvements to include the permanent drainage and erosion controls on site. Intech must also certify that all site construction and site conditions are acceptable per their recommendations. The drainage and erosion control plan provided by the applicant will need to be reviewed and approved by Intech Engineering to ensure compliance with those recommendations. The applicant did provide an erosion and drainage control plan. And Public Works and the stormwater manager for the city have provided comment regarding this request. Both have indicated that they wish to see the historic flow path and intensity existing on site to be maintained, and that all stormwater runoffs be diverted away from city streets and adjacent properties. The provided drainage and erosion control plan does indicate that the existing and proposed flow pattern will remain the same following completion of the project. The proposed erosion control and drainage plan will need to be reviewed by the city's stormwater division and approved by Intech to ensure compliance with the recommendations they made in the geologic hazards report. So with that, staff recommends granting approval for minor subdivision 2201 to create lots 1 and 2, 121 Lovers Lane subdivision, and approval of subdivision waiver 2201 to allow for encroachment into the identified no-build as shown on the plat and the subdivision site plan, with the finding that the subdivision waiver is justified based on information provided in the application and on conditions particular to this site, that without waiver of the proposed development would be less practical for the property owners regarding the proposed development. The granting of the waiver under the conditions imposed would not be detrimental to the public good and would not impair the intent and purpose of the subdivision regulations. And staff notes 15 conditions of approval that I won't read aloud, but if you have any questions about a specific condition, I'd be happy to scroll back to it and answer that.
Any questions for staff? I just have one. In the Intech, some of their stuff, they have in bold several times the sentence, a detailed drainage report should be prepared for this site to properly address hazards present on the site. Is that in these conditions? I couldn't exactly find it. Maybe it's buried and I don't see it.
Yeah, so the drainage plan is a part of the erosion control plan that was provided by the applicant, and that'll have to be reviewed and approved by Intech Engineering before anything is put in place.
And that'll include all the detail that they're asking for.
Correct.
Okay.
So they're reviewing that drainage and erosion control plan for compliance with the geologic hazards report that they created.
Okay, great, thank you. Anything else? Any other questions for staff?
Dylan, you mentioned that curb and gutters or other drainage swales should be considered along Washington. Is that considered by the applicant or the city, or should that be part of the recommendations?
Well, the cracking in the pavement is not a result of any of the actions of the applicant. It's a city public right-of-way, and basically it's the city's responsibility to make any improvements and to monitor that during construction.
Okay.
Okay. If there are no other questions, then the applicant could step to the table and state your name and address for the record. And you just have to push the little button there and make it light up, and you can speak. And you need to get it pretty close.
Is that working okay? Yep, thanks. My name is Jeff Myers. I'm the applicant for the the Lover's Lane property that was formerly a Washington property. Now it's a Lover's Lane property. And that's my current address. I've just been using that and post office box here in Manitou.
And the floor is yours, so anything you'd like to add, or are you comfortable with staff report? And
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add as far as off of Washington Avenue, the curb and the gutter, which Mike could make reference to, is that there's approximately 25 feet of flat grade adjacent to Washington. So probably over the last 15, 20, 30 years, there hasn't been any major wash of water down the hill. There's no rain gullies, so by putting that wall that initially will capture water at each tier level as it proceeds south, and it's all going to be diverted to the existing drainage. It's not going to make it better, not going to make it worse, but it's not going to add any water that's going to end up on Manitou streets.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add, or is that, are you good?
I'm good.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we'll call you back if we need anything more from you. So if anybody in the audience would like to comment on this, now is the time. The hearing is open to public comment. You need to, turn on the light and start by stating your name and address for the record.
My name's Susanna Kelland. I live at 119 Manitou Place.
Okay, could you pull the a little closer?
My name is Susanna Kelland. I live 119 Manitou Place, and I have lived here since 1992. And I'm very familiar with the road above Washington, and it's always sort of been left in rather destitute condition. And I'm a little familiar with the wall as not as an engineer, just to look. And I can only think that a retaining wall is probably long coming. That road on Washington always looks like it's about to slide down the hill. And I think this retaining wall will possibly be a big benefit to the city of Manitou in maintaining the integrity of Washington Avenue in that place.
Okay, since seeing nobody else in the audience, I'll close the public comment part of the hearing, and we can deliberate.
Was there any public emails, anything, did I miss them?
We have not received any public comment via letters, emails, or anything regarding this request.
Point of clarification for you, Dylan, number 7, due to the 15% grade of the existing driveway requiring that the residents be equipped with automatic sprinkler system, alarm system, and so forth. Is that implying that the fire department is concerned about getting a fire truck up there?
They didn't mention that, but during the request for comment that we do, those were the fire department's comments, and they've been made a condition of approval regarding this request just to track that.
Okay, thank you.
I think this is addressed to Dylan. Hannah, I don't know if you've had a chance to get up to speed on this project or not, but correct me if I'm wrong, or just wide of the mark, but it seems to me that the essence of what we're doing today is it relies on the work of the geological engineer, MTech, and the Colorado Geological Society. I mean, we are not competent to pass on the technical aspects of it, but the planning department has looked at it and has determined that this is adequate information, and it seems, I'm just trying to verify in my own mind that what we're doing is relying on the advice of experts here. And I walked the property today. Well, I've known it for a long time. And the plans, speaking as an architect, the plan seems very reasonable. So, is that your understanding, Dylan? Is basically we're relying on NTEC and the Colorado Geological Survey for the technical?
Yeah, that's correct. They're the geologic engineers, and Colorado Geologic Survey is a statewide organization that deals with the geology in the state and engineering. So.
Yeah, I think that's really, I think this was a excellent staff report. You could see all the checkoffs from the fire department, police department, engineer, and so on. So that's what we rely on, is that our experts are weighing in where appropriate. And I looked through the process, and I think everything was followed perfectly. So I think that's great job. So, are you ready, Mike?
Dylan, not to beat you up, but on Michelle's letter back last year, on paragraph 11, it says the start date for the resumed grading, et cetera, and then it says the finish date shall be no later than May 1st, 2022.
Yep, that's referring to the grading, which has already occurred.
Which is already what?
The grading of the driveway has already occurred.
Okay. I wasn't sure about that. And just curious, who is Al Huerva?
Al Juvera is, I want to say Colorado Springs Utilities.
Okay. All right. And Jeff, no big deal, but on your plans, in multiple places, it says that the electrical source is from Manitou, which is not the case, obviously.
Speak to the chair. If you'd like to come up and, come up to the table again, please.
I just wanted to shed some light on when they made reference about a fire truck not being able to make it up to the property. Larry Mitchell from the police or fire department came up, and being that you're not going to get, 30, 40-foot truck up there, the conditions of having a fire hydrant put in, the house has to be sprinkled, so I'm going to have a commercial sprinkler inside my house, and mandatory metal roof. Under those conditions, the big truck won't have to be up there, but had I not jumped through those hoops, then there wouldn't be a structure up there because the truck would have to be able to go up there, but that was from the superintendent of the fire department.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Any more questions or comments or motions?
I'd like to make a motion for approval for minor subdivision waiver 2201 and subdivision waiver encroachment into a no-build area 2201.
With the staff.
With staff recommendations.
Okay, is there a second?
I can second that.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, then let's vote. All in favor? Say aye. Okay, that's unanimous. As we have no new business, is there any other business anybody needs to bring up? And no council action or updates? So with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.